Have you ever stopped to think about what guides some of the toughest, most high-stakes decisions in our society? It's not just a rulebook. It's an internal moral compass. And today, we're going to dive into the very foundation of our justice system, the ethics of law enforcement.
I mean, really think about that. In your day-to-day life, very few people have that kind of authority. A police officer is one of the only people who can legally use force and, yes, take away your liberty. That's a staggering amount of power to put in someone's hands.
So when the stakes are literally that high, life and liberty on the line, what's the backstop? What ensures that incredible power is used the right way? Well, the answer has to be a deeply ingrained code of professional ethics. Let's talk about the weight of that badge for a second. And I don't mean the few ounces of metal. It's about the weight of public responsibility, a burden that's unlike almost any other job you can think of.
This quote from the International Association of Chiefs of Police really nails a fascinating point. For most of us, ethics at work is about, being a good person and doing the right thing. But in policing, it's so much bigger. It's the very foundation of the institution's legitimacy in the eyes of the public.
And everything we're talking about, every bit of that power and responsibility, it all rests on one single and very fragile element, public trust. If that goes, the whole thing can just fall apart.
You see, an officer's authority isn't automatic. It's conditional. I love this idea that it's loaned by the people. It's like the community is the bank, and that authority can be called in at any time if the public feels that trust has been broken.
And this isn't just theory. The real-world consequences are night and day. On one side, ethical policing leads to cooperation, integrity, and safety. But when that trust is shattered, you get hostility, corruption, and a whole lot more danger. Not just for the community, but for the officers themselves.
Just imagine for a second, what if 90% of a community completely lost faith in its police? How could an officer even do their job? No one would talk to them, no one would give them tips, effective policing would grind to a halt. It would be almost impossible. That's how critical trust is.
So, knowing the stakes are this high, what tools does an officer have to navigate these incredibly complex situations? Well, that brings us to their professional code of ethics.
Now, it's really important to think of this as more than just a rule book. It's that moral compass we keep talking about. It's the framework that's designed to keep an officer pointed towards true north, acting with integrity, serving the public, even when the pressure is immense.
And that compass is built on 4 absolutely key pillars. These are not suggestions, they're non-negotiables. Honesty, fairness, accountability, and respect. Pretty much every action an officer takes can and should be measured against these principles. Okay, enough with the theory. Let's get our hands dirty. Let's put this into a situation where the right answer isn't quite so black and white.
So picture it. You're the rookie. You're partnered with a senior officer everyone looks up to, a real veteran. This officer conducts a search that you know for a fact is illegal, but it works. They find an illegal gun on a guy known to be dangerous. That weapon is now off the street.
So what's the play? The outcome was good, right? A bad guy is off the street. Do you just ignore the illegal search? Or do you report your respected partner, potentially blowing up your career and your relationship? This is where ethical theory gets really, really messy in the real world.
A good decision here isn't just about a gut feeling. It's a structured process. You can actually walk through it using a matrix like this. What does policy require? Was the action legal? No. Does it violate core principles like fairness? Yes. And then the ultimate gut check. How would this play on the front page of the newspaper? Suddenly, that tough gray area starts to look a lot more clear.
And this brings us right back to our central theme. Department policies and laws, they're the external guides, they're the guardrails. But that final choice, that often comes from within.
Because real ethical strength, real integrity, isn't about doing the right thing when the sergeant's watching or the body camera's on. It's about those quiet moments. It's about making the right call simply because it is the right call. That, right there, is the whole ball game.
So, we'll leave you with this. It doesn't matter if you're in law enforcement or not. Everybody has a line they won't cross, a principle they won't bend. The question is, what's yours? Because just knowing the answer to that is the very first step to building your own moral compass.